Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Jessica Devereaux in Baltimore. On Sunday, Haitians head to the polls to select their next president in the first round of elections. But now there's evidence of U.S. interference in the last presidential election back in 2010. Recently released emails from Hillary Clinton's private server revealed details of how U.S. officials worked closely with the Haitian private sector as they forced Haitian authorities to change the results of the first round of presidential elections in late 2010. Eventually, the U.S. government ended up supporting the current president, Michel Martelly. Here to discuss the influence of the international community are our two guests. Joining us from New York is Ezili Danto. She is the president of the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network. And joining us from Haiti is Nicole Phillips. She is a staff attorney for the Institute for Justice and Democracy in Haiti. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Nicole, I'll start off with you. What do the Clinton emails reveal about the last round of elections? And was this event an election or a selection process at the end of the day?
Well, I think most Haitians would say that the last elections were a selection, not a fair election. I think that the emails showed manipulation by the Clinton administration. We knew this. In 2010 and 2011, we witnessed this happening. These emails just confirm what many of us already knew. In the first round of elections, the last two candidates were considered the winners by the Electoral Council, and the Clinton administration intervened, brought in a delegation from the Organization of Americans. The organization and did a recount of the vote and then reversed the results so that only one of the original candidates and the second one, who's now the president, Martelly, went into the runoff elections in 2011. Of course, there's many problems with this, but one of the problems is that the recount by the OAS was no more legitimate than the original count by the Electoral Council. So neither of those vote tabulations really had any statistical basis for them. Both and the elections had so many irregularities that really the only answer would have been to have new elections. But instead, what the Clinton administration did was manipulate the election results so that they took out one of the candidates and put in another candidate. These emails reveal their desire to want the president at the time, René Préval, to step down. They wanted him out. And the candidate that they excluded was his candidate in his political party, a family member. And so that I think those emails sort of backed up our theory that the administration was clear on what they wanted after the first round of elections, which was to replace President Préval's candidate with President Martelly.
Ezili, you've also written about how the U.S. buried official records which gave President Martelly essentially he wasn't a U.S. citizen. And if he was, that would have disqualified him from running constitutionally. He could not run for president. So can you speak to that a bit? And what proof do we have of those type of allegations?
To Hillary Clinton and Cheryl Mills handing Haiti a different result than was handed to them by the Mr. Oponte. Haitians have said, and there's a senator who's running for president right now. He's called Senator Moïse. He was dealing with this whole issue of whether Mr. Martelly was ever even qualified. And frankly, Kenneth Merchant, who's the U.S. ambassador, when this thing came out, they actually said that he was not qualified. I have on my website right now a Haitian radio station who says that their source is from a high-level up U.S. official. And also we know that Martelly actually voted in Miami. So you can't vote unless you were a citizen of the country. So we have some of those public records. Mm-hmm. But Kenneth Merton, the ambassador to Haiti, when Haitians, after this amazing fraudulent elections, where by 12 o'clock on that day of that election, all the candidates, including Mr. Mateli and Madame Maniga and Jude Celestin, said that it was so fraudulent that they wanted it annulled. Yes. But the UN mulet, the UN went to these candidates, Madame Maniga and Mr. Mateli, and told them, don't pull out of the elections. They told them each of them had won. So it was that divide and conquer. So the opportunistic part of these men, Mrs. Maniga and Mateli won. And then you had this travesty of now what we're dealing with, which is Mateli running the country for the last 5 years by decree without parliament and putting out all sorts of decrees, taking Haiti's offshore islands. He's added 19 new deputies to a parliament that he never used during the time he was the whole time. So in terms of the evidence that we have, we're asking the United States, how could they allow Mr. Or Ambassador Kenneth Merton? We have charged, the Haitian Lawyers Leadership has charged, based on the information we have, that Kenneth Merton, actually the ambassador to the United States, was dishonest and said that Mr. Mateli was not a U.S. citizen. Okay. We know so the official records either had to be changed or they've been submerged.
All right. So with all this information, Nicole, how can Haitian people actually have faith in the democratic process? What do you think needs to happen in order for there to be free and fair elections in Haiti?
Well, it's, of course, a great question, and we should have been talking about this question 18 months ago, because that's what really it would have taken to have truly free and fair elections. And even, I think some would argue pretty rightly, it's impossible to have elections when you do have the international community so present in this country. That's something I think a lot of Haitians feel. In order to have fair elections, what we're sort of hoping will happen is that the violence will be minimized so that people can vote. I think a lot of Haitians see so many obstacles to voting on Sunday. Last round of elections on August 9th, there were, at least by some civil society observers, there were irregularities, serious irregularities, in at least 50% of the voting stations. 1 out of 2 voting stations. I mean, that's enormous. There was pre-election violence. There was violence on election day. I think at least 5 people died on election day. There's violence after elections. There has been violence last week, in the last few weeks, of people being assassinated. So this is all posing a problem for Haitians wanting to vote. This is, of course, makes them fearful of coming out and voting. It even makes them fearful of being election observers, and it's having the intended impact. A lot of the investigation showed that President Martelly's political party was in the majority of the cases responsible for the violence, and yet, of course, the justice system is not pursuing the acts of violence. Some of the candidates were disqualified. That was a great step forward. But we haven't seen the pursuit of remedies, judicial remedies against them as they should be. So that's sending a clear message out to political candidates and their supporters that violence wins in these elections. I think another issue, another obstacle for Haitians to vote is the interference of the international community. As we spoke about, Haitians know, everybody, they didn't need Clinton's emails to know the interference of the international community, in particular the United States government, in the results of the 2010 election. Another fatal flaw in those elections that the United States spent over $15 million on in 2010 was that they excluded the majority of the opposition parties, at least 15 political parties, including President Aristide's party, Famille Lavalette. So even regardless of what happened in 2010, on day one, they weren't going to be fair elections, and the United States government paid for those, meaning they thought that was fine for democracy in Haiti. And then they said at the end of these elections, this was a great step forward for democracy in Haiti. In August 9th elections, like I mentioned, there were so many irregularities and violence, and what we saw at the end was a delegation from the Organization of American States, a delegation from the European Union saying there were some problems in these elections, but by and large, they were a good step forward for democracy in Haiti. Whereas we here in Haiti thought that they were terrible and not and lacked any legitimacy at all.
And some people would even argue, Nicole, that there can't be legitimacy if you have the UN and other non-governmental organizations essentially propping these elections up and conducting them. So, Ezili, I know you make that argument. So if you cannot have free and fair elections with these groups involved, I guess someone could argue, though, how do you expect Haitians to pay for the elections?
Well, we have actually paid the one, excuse me, when President Aristide, right after Duvalier, Haiti did their elections. They did their elections in 2001. The international community has an economic interest in Haiti, and that economic interest and that strategic interest is hidden by the media, who refuses to look at the fact that Haiti has the largest cache of gold. 20 billion, they say, but the geologist in Haiti says it's like about $100 billion. So we're talking about real economic interests, deep water ports. The United States, after it took out President Aristide, built its largest embassy in the Western Hemisphere in Haiti. They have over 1,000 people in that embassy in tiny Haiti. So there's no way they're going away. You got to understand that Hillary Clinton left the Benghazi. That's the Benghazi crisis, to go to Haiti and basically strong arm the Haitians at the CEP and basically said, we're going to take away your visas if you don't step back and let us do what we want and put Meddling in office. Now, at the Haitian Lawyers Leadership in the Free Haiti movement, we have been struggling forever to let everyone understands that the United States is in Haiti because of its oil, of its gold, of its strategic interest within that Windward Passage next to Cuba and Venezuela. They have set up bases, and all of this is being done under the auspices of the UN and the Humanitarian Front, which is what everyone wants to talk about. So essentially, at the Haitian Lawyers Leadership in the Free Haiti movement, we've basically this is our position. Election under occupation is not legitimate, that Haiti cannot have free elections when it's being financed by foreigners, when the NGOs are put into areas in Haiti to influence the people, starve the ones that don't have criticism against what we call the legal bandits, Mateli's whole crew, the legal bandits, kidnapping, drug trafficking. And right now, one of our biggest concerns as human rights lawyers is that this travesty that the United States is this facsimile of democracy that the UN, the United Nations, and the OAS, and this core group of internationals is putting on Haitians' throat is not worth one life, not one Haitian life, because it's not about us. It's about the international interest in Haiti. It's about Bill Clinton's luxury hotels, sweatshops for South Koreans. It's not about Haitians. It's about mining, Canadian mining. Right. We have issues, real issues like cholera, like the deportations that's happening to 80,000 Haitians at the Dominican border. Yes. We have real issues like hunger, like food sovereignty. But the United States only cares about these elections because it needs to have a face for what it's doing in Haiti. So right now, that face is Michel Martelly. But I think it's about 6,000 to 8,000 UN troops in Haiti right now. And their purpose is supposed to be about stability, about the rule of law, about human rights. And yet they're in cahoots with all the illegalities of the United States. And recently we've had all of the voting fraud, and the UN, as the arbiter of human rights, is participating in this. As a matter of fact, it's trained the special units that are killing the people in the populous areas who have been really against the fact that,
All right. Ezili, we're going to pause.
So where is the UN?
I hear you, but we're going to pause the conversation here, and in part two, let's discuss some of these top candidates and whether the Haitian electorate actually has much of a choice in their candidates. So Ezili, Danto, and Nicole Phillips, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on The Real News Network.